Hello and welcome back to Northern Lights. In today's episode we're gonna build a bunch of cool farms using some mechanics from the Create mod, but before we do any of that, I want to show you what we've been up to in live streams. So first we got this minecart contraption here, although we don't really see anything, so let's just grab it and send it somewhere else. There we go, it's gonna be a lot easier to see it from here. So it's a minecart contraption that has a huge drill attached to it, so it's the ideal machine to dig big holes and gather a bunch of resources. Plus, it's all self-propelled, so when it's going, it will place redstone blocks and powered rails right here in front of the minecart, so the minecart's gonna keep going, and these two thingies here will grab the powered rail and the redstone block again when it's done, so it all cycles through. It's super easy, it's all automatic, and when we're done with it we can just grab it and we put it back in its station like so, and now it's attached to this portable item interface, and it's gonna empty the items and send them into the storage system that we built in the last episode. Then we started planning the layout of the base. So first we got the waiting room here, the elevator room here, storage here, and over there is going to be the rest of the base. So first there's going to be a big ravine here. Right now there's a bunch of farms, they're all going to go somewhere else eventually. They're not just gonna float midair in the middle of the ravine, that would just look silly. And to cross that ravine, there's gonna be some kind of a contraption with Create mod stuff that will allow us to cross in a fun way, but I just don't know yet what we're gonna use. We'll figure all of that out when the ravine is built. And also there's going to be like a bunch of ways to go across the ravine. There's going to be a bunch of different corridors or well, kind of bridges, also using different types of contraptions. It's going to be a lot of fun to build all of that. And when we reach the other side, well, first is going to be my office here. On this side there's going to be a bunch of mini games, and over here on this side there's going to be a bunch of farms, and we're going to start things off with an iron farm. The concept behind this farm has been taught to me by my friend Mini, links in the description, but basically it works with some crushing wheels. So these things, as the name says, they crush things. So for example, if I throw some cobblestone in the crusher, I get some gravel, and that gravel you can wash it using a fan. So let's just set things up like that here. Like so. So if you blow air through some water at a block, so let's throw the gravel on the depot here, it's gonna wash the gravel. We don't really see it. We see it from here. It's washing the gravel, and if we're lucky, we're gonna get we get some flint, and we can get some iron nuggets. So that's how we're gonna get our iron nuggets. The thing is, iron nuggets by themselves aren't that useful, but if we put a basin with a press on top, let's grab that hand crank, and if we throw the nuggets in the basin and we activate the press, it's gonna compact them into iron ingots, like so. And when we have enough iron ingots, we can throw them in the basin and again compact them into iron blocks. So we can automate all of that. So now what we're missing is a steady input of cobblestone. So we're gonna build a cobblestone generator, but we're not gonna build it right above the crusher. Instead, we're gonna build it across the hall. It's gonna look a lot cooler, so let's see it in action. If I turn this hand crank, it creates a piece of cobble and it throws it across the hall with this ejector here. It throws it into the crusher and we get our gravel. And now we're ready to build the final version of the entire thing, and we're gonna build something that looks a bit better because right now it's a bit ugly. And ta-da! We got a working farm. So we got all the stuff that I mentioned earlier. Cobblestone generator, throws cobblestone into a crushing wheel, turns it into gravel. I also added this little conveyor belt with a lever so that, like, if we want to keep the gravel, we can send it into this vault. But most of the time we're gonna send it this way to make nuggets that we store inside this vault. It also makes flint, but we filter it out somewhere else. We really don't need to see that. And when this vault filled with iron nuggets gets a bit too full, it starts this little system here that will compact the nuggets into iron ingots and send them into that vault here. When it gets too low, it's gonna stop, it's gonna start filling up again, and then it's gonna start compacting them once more. And same thing is happening here, so when we get too many ingots, it will start this little system. The ejector plate is gonna send the nugget with the ingots here, that way on this side here, to get compacted into blocks and get stored into this vault here. The reason I'm doing it like that with all 3 levels of compactedness for the iron is because sometimes you just need nuggets, or sometimes you just need ingots, and it's kind of annoying to like grab a stack of iron blocks, break it down into nuggets, and like throw the excess back into the system. Sometimes you just need nuggets, so you grab the nuggets. I think that's a bit more practical. So yeah, that's it for this farm here. I also decorated the wall. It's kind of temporary placeholder type of decoration, especially, well, the ceiling is very, very temporary. We're gonna make something that looks better, just not today, because today we have another plan, another farm that we want to build, or another machine at this point. It's not even a farm, but that thing is gonna produce sand, terracotta, glass, and gold. So here's how it's gonna work. It starts the same way as the other one with a cobblestone generator. Let's remove that dirt and let's put the water and the lava in. So we got our cobblestone generator, and same as the previous farm, there's gonna be a set of crushing wheels where the cobblestone's gonna get thrown. The big difference is that instead of washing, instead of washing the gravel, we're gonna send it back here and send it back on this this ejector here to send the gravel back into the crusher to crush it one more time, basically turning it into sand. So with that sand, we're gonna send it on this little conveyor belt where we're gonna filter a bunch of stuff because it produces sand but also clay balls and flint. So we're gonna filter them out here. The flint's gonna go somewhere else. We'll talk about that eventually one day. And the clay balls are gonna get thrown on this side here. And the sand will go on its merry way, where it's gonna go either into the vault if we send that conveyor belt that way, or on this ejector if we send it that way. So when it gets thrown on this side here, it's gonna get thrown into a washer. So let's put the water in the washer. There we go. So the sand that gets thrown here is gonna get washed, and it's gonna turn into clay balls. And the clay balls that we sent on this side here, it's gonna end up here, and it's gonna skip the whole washer because it doesn't need to be washed. It's just the sand that needs to be washed. The clay balls are clean enough already. So they're gonna join together here and get sent into a compactor. So this is gonna compact the clay balls into clay blocks. And it's gonna send them on this side here where there's gonna be... oops, that's not the right one. That's the right one, where there's gonna be a smelter. So we're gonna smelt the clay blocks when they're compacted. We're gonna smelt them here. We're gonna need some lava. Oops, oh, it's powered. Sorry. I was wondering what was happening. Okay. Take 2. Yeah, we're gonna have a smelter here, so it's gonna smelt the clay balls into terracotta and then filter it out and send it into that vault here. But that's not all that we're gonna want to smelt. We can also smelt the sand into glass, because we're gonna produce glass. So when we want to do that, we're gonna activate this little conveyor belt here, and it's gonna take some sand from this vault and send it into the smelter, smelt it, and sent it into the glass vault. Kind of obvious, now that I think of it. I don't know why I specified that. Yeah, so we're gonna get terracotta here. And sometimes we're gonna want to send that terracotta back in the front here. So we're gonna start this belt here, sending it all the way back into the cobblestone generator so that it falls on this ejector here. The reason everything converges back into this ejector here is because it won't throw anything if there is something waiting to be crushed. So basically it avoids, you know, stuff staying there as entities, potentially causing lag, and eventually also stuff despawning. So if I just keep sending stuff faster than it can crush it, it could despawn, because it could cause issues like that. So yeah, it's just to avoid that. But yeah, when we throw the terracotta into the crusher, it's gonna crush into red sand. It's gonna go out here, and we're gonna filter it out here. And we're gonna throw the red sand back into the washer, just like the regular sand. So when the red sand gets washed, it will turn into dead bush, which we don't really care about, and gold nuggets, and that's how we're gonna get our gold. And we're gonna filter out these gold nuggets here and send them over on that side into the last part of our machine. So there's gonna be, it's gonna send it on this belt here. It's gonna send them, the nuggets, on the belt here, and then throw them back to the other side, back to this side here, so that they get sent into this compactor and get compacted into gold ingots and then get stored in that vault. So that's how this whole machine is gonna work to produce all of these blocks. I hope it made some sort of sense. I really do. But now we're gonna hook everything together and we're gonna decorate the walls, and then we're gonna be ready to watch it in action. Look at that machine going. It's working perfectly. There's no problem at all with how it's going. I love it. But yeah, more seriously, it's got a big problem. It's running super slow, but there's a good reason. It's because it's all running on a single water wheel. We'll talk about that in a few seconds, but first let's still take a look at the whole machine in action and see exactly how it works. So for example, we got this lever here. If I flick it, it's gonna change the direction of this conveyor belt. So it lets me decide if I want to keep sand or if I want to wash the sand, but it's also connected to a redstone system that I put behind this vault that will also decide that for me if it's running too low or if it's too close to being full. So if it's too close to being full, it's not gonna store anything, it's gonna send everything to the washer, and the other way around, if it's too low on sand, it's gonna force it to stay inside the vault. Whatever I do with the lever, it's gonna ignore that input. We got this going, we can see it in action. Thing is, we don't really see it in action because it's literally not doing anything, because that's how it's supposed to work, but we're too low on terracotta to actually start this system, so it ignores the signal. Yeah, pretty happy with that. It kind of helps with the automation for this whole machine. I can leave it running in a certain setting, and it's not gonna either empty all my resources or stuff like that. So yeah, pretty happy with that, how it's going. The reason it's going so slow, however, is because we don't have a good power source in this base, and I didn't want to just like make 20 water wheels, hide them in the walls, and have the machine going, and like pretend that, yeah, it's okay to just have mountains of water wheels. I don't like that, so that's what we're gonna work on in the next episode. We're gonna work on getting a better power source. So that's gonna be it for today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed making these little machines with me. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.